the huge German landlord Vonovia has actually reduced people's energy use for their heating in the nighttime without them knowing, apparently, according to the German media. The whole thing is to try and conserve gas usage. Now, I've never really protested anything, but if someone were to shut off my heating at night, I've got 2 young kids, I'm pretty sure this one would get me out on the streets. And so my question to you is, haven't they gone a bit far here? Isn't this going to explode?
Well, when you say haven't they gone a bit far, you have to put it in context, which is I'm sure it's not something they want to do. The question is, why are they doing it? And the answer, of course, is that they're running low on natural gas. Now, they're not out of natural gas, but it is a couple of things are happening. First of all, the amount of natural gas coming in is being reduced. The price is going up. And they have a certain amount of reserves, but the reserves are getting low. And so this is all heading to something more like a crisis or a catastrophe in the fall. Now, you mentioned they're turning down the heat or turning down the energy usage at night. I don't know whether they're reducing your air conditioning on a hot night or heat maybe on a cool night. I guess it depends on the part of Germany. It doesn't matter whether you're using air conditioning or heat. You're using natural gas to power it one way or the other. But either way, yeah, doing it in the middle of the night is, pretty sneaky. But I guess the feeling is if people are sound asleep, they won't notice. But they do notice, of course. And but it's more symptomatic of what's going on in Germany as a whole. But yeah, first of all, Putin, if you look at what he's doing, they're turning down the dial slowly, right? So if you turned it down all at once, just cut off the natural gas to Western Europe, the place would implode economically. But that might be the kind of move that invites a military response or some kind of more extreme reaction. But Putin, he turned it down a little bit to Finland because they were getting ready to join NATO, turned it down a little bit to Poland, not too much. Then they turned down the natural gas coming through Nord Stream 1. Everyone's spun up about Nord Stream 2. That's the new pipeline, but there's Nord Stream 1, which has been around for a while. They dialed that down. They said there were some technical problems with a pump and they couldn't get the part because of the supply chain, whatever. But the point is, it's little by little by little, but it's having an effect. And it's all leading up to the fall, of course, when, and by the way, there's some reason to believe that it will be a particularly cold winter. I don't want to turn this into long-term climatological forecasting, but if you, one of the drivers of climate, it's not really CO2 and all the things people talk about, but it is sun cycles, ocean currents, volcanoes. There are things that do affect the climate in material ways. And to the extent that those are measured, it looks like a very weak sun cycle right now, which just means colder weather across the board. So you get a cold winter, which is happened anyway, but it may be even more extreme than that, combined with Germany being out of reserves and then not being able to get as much natural gas as it wants. They're going to have to ration it. And then the first division is, okay, do we give it to everyday citizens to heat their houses and, cook dinner or whatever, keep the lights on? Or do we give it to industry, bearing in mind that Germany is the 4th largest economy in the world after the US, China, and Japan, but it's an economy that's driven heavily by manufacturing and exports. The US is the largest, but it's much more of a service economy. Germany, very advanced machinery, very advanced technology, but they sell it to the rest of the world. German cars, machines, technology, companies like Siemens, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, BASF, and so forth. These are export powerhouses. So you can say we're going to give it to citizens so they can keep the lights on and dial it down for industry, but that's going to kill your economy, kill your exports, and worse. Then you get into layoffs and unemployment goes up. So Germany, I would say, is certainly heading for a recession at best. They're going to have to ration the natural gas to some extent, but it may be more extreme than that. In fact, I would expect something like a more extreme outcome. So this is serious, politically destabilizing. By the way, we've just seen Boris Johnson resign, and everyone goes, well, that has nothing to do with Ukraine. It has to do with domestic politics, and I don't want to get into all the details. He had a series of scandals, and
the sordid details.
Yeah, sordid details, but we'll leave that to our viewers. I'm sure they have other sources. Yes, it was a domestic crisis, sort of self-inflicted, but the fact remains he was the Western leader who more so even than Biden, to the extent that Biden could form a few thoughts, was aggressive and a bit of a warmonger when it came to Ukraine. And the UK military are training Ukrainian troops, et cetera. Now, Macron in France won his re-election, but they've since had elections for the assembly, and his party did very badly. And Scholz, who's the chancellor in Germany, again, he's the chancellor, but his party has done very poorly in some recent by-elections that are in his areas of strength. They're places where the Social Democrats should do very well and are not. So we're seeing some, without overstating it, we're seeing the political, rug being pulled out from under three Western leaders: Johnson, Macron, and Scholz.
Italy as well,
Biden,
I think. Italy's coming.
yeah, but Italy, right? Very good point. And Biden, again, hard to know what to say. We have 4-year terms, so unless he's somehow persuaded to resign for his own good, who knows? But we do have midterm elections. On a serious note, we do have midterm elections coming up the first couple of days of November, and his party could suffer something close to a wipeout. So it's interesting that, and I am very happy to be addressing our Australian audience, but I have a German audience as well, and I was doing an interview for them. Germany and France, they're on the wrong side of this war. Not that you want to root for Russia, but it's the case that Russia's winning on the ground, winning economically. Europe is suffering. Europe's paying the price. And I think Europe is going to start to think twice about that and maybe find a way of reducing the sanctions, getting some more natural gas from Russia and leaving Ukraine to their destiny. But I think there's a mistake for them to follow the United States, a mistake for the U.S. to do what it's doing, and we're paying a very high price in the West.